If you've ever been told you weren't good enough, if you've ever been pushed aside, abandoned, underestimated, this story is for you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up, because what started as heartbreak turned into one of the most satisfying comebacks you'll ever hear. My name is Michael, and if you're hearing this, then maybe you felt like I did once, like you were invisible, like your own family looked right through you, like a smudge on glass. It's funny, isn't it? People talk about family as if it's unconditional. But in my case, love came with a price tag, and the moment I couldn't pay, they cut me loose. I was 17 when they kicked me out. No high school diploma, no job, no backup plan. Just a trash bag with 2 torn hoodies, a toothbrush, and 22 crumpled dollars. That was their parting gift. Not even enough to buy a sleeping bag. You'd think there'd be tears, some dramatic goodbye. There wasn't. Just my mother, standing at the door, arms crossed, eyes cold. You're just a drain, Michael. You're not going anywhere. And we're tired of waiting for you to grow up. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She said it like she was reading off a grocery list. My dad wasn't even there. He couldn't be bothered. I stood there for a second, thinking it was a joke. Then the door closed behind me. There's a kind of silence that comes when the world moves on without you. Not the peaceful kind, the cruel kind. I remember my first night alone, curled up behind a diner dumpster, the scent of old grease and wet cardboard in my nose. My stomach growled so hard it woke me up every 20 minutes. I was nobody. No phone. No ID. No voice. But you know what I did have? Rage. Not the kind that explodes, the kind that simmers. The kind that plants itself deep in your chest and grows roots. I wasn't going to die behind a dumpster. Not for them. I started small. Really small. Washing dishes in the back of a Korean barbecue joint. I worked 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week, for cash under the table. Burnt fingers, swollen ankles, no days off, no tips, just sweat and silence. But I kept every dollar. Ate cheap. Slept in the back storage closet when the manager let me. I took whatever side jobs I could. Cleaning toilets, mopping up vomit after parties, fixing leaky pipes even though I had no idea what I was doing. If there was money involved, I was there. I became addicted not to money, but to movement, to never stopping, to the idea that if I just kept climbing, eventually I'd reach the top. People say the worst part of being poor is the hunger. They're wrong. It's the loneliness. Birthdays passed. Holidays too. No calls, no messages, not from my mom, not my siblings. I watched from afar as they posted pictures, smiling at Christmas dinner, blowing out birthday candles. It was like I'd been erased. And still, I kept working. I had this idea, a simple one. At one of my jobs, a local auto shop, I noticed how many people came in furious about long wait times and rude mechanics. One night, I scribbled a plan: mobile auto servicing, tech forward, transparent pricing, kind mechanics who actually smiled. I didn't know jack about business, but I knew frustration, and I knew opportunity when I saw it. I worked on it every night while still juggling my 3 jobs. My first business loan was a $2,000 cash advance from a guy I met in a laundromat. 36% interest. I took it. And that's how Drive Savvy was born, my first company. Me, a rusted-out van, and a prepaid phone. At first, it was chaos. I slept in the van. Got parking tickets I couldn't pay. Had to shower at public gyms. There were nights I wanted to quit. Nights I nearly did. But for the first time in my life, failure meant something. I wasn't working for someone else. Every scraped knuckle, every bad Yelp review, every canceled appointment, it was mine to fix, and I fixed it. 1 job led to 2, 2 led to 10. I reinvested everything, bought more vans, hired friends I trusted. Within 4 years, Drive Savvy wasn't a side hustle. It was a full-blown business. Profitable. Scalable. I went from living in my van to running a fleet of them. Then the media started calling. A local news feature turned into a national podcast interview. I became a bootstrap success story. They called me the Van Man Millionaire. And right around then, the messages started coming in. Hey Michael, it's your cousin. Heard about your company. So proud of you. Mom said she saw you on TV. You should come by sometime. There's a family reunion coming up. We'd love to see you. My hands shook reading that last one. After all those years, now they wanted me back. It was a Thursday. I remember because I had just gotten off a Zoom call with some venture capital guys who were practically begging to invest in my company. I was riding high, confident, collected, on top of my world. Then my phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Hey Michael, we're organizing a family reunion this year. It's been a while. Would love for you to come. Hope you're well. I stared at the message for a full minute. My heart pounded. Not with fear, with something worse. Confusion, anger, disbelief. After all these years, now they remember I exist? I clicked on the number. No name, but I recognized the area code, same town I grew up in. Same town that swallowed me whole and spat me onto the street. I thought about deleting it. Thought about blocking the number and never looking back. But instead, I saved it. I wanted proof, because a part of me wanted to go. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my king-sized bed, in my high-rise penthouse overlooking the city, and suddenly I was 17 again. Cold, shivering, alone on a park bench, watching my breath rise into the night sky, hearing my mom's voice like a dagger on repeat. You're a disappointment. You'll never amount to anything. They didn't just abandon me. They belittled me. They believed I would fail, and left me with no chance to prove otherwise. And now they wanted me back, because I had made it. Was I going just to gloat? Was I still angry? Or did some wounded little boy inside me still crave their approval? The truth? All of the above. I wanted them to see me. Really see me, not as the failure they tossed aside, but as the man I became because they did. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice. It was about being undeniable. So I replied, what day and time? I didn't want to show up just looking rich. I wanted to look untouchable. Tailored Armani suit, cufflinks engraved with the initials of my company. A subtle, custom black-on-black Rolls-Royce Ghost. Driver in a matching three-piece. Hair freshly cut, beard line sharp. Not because I needed to prove anything, but because I needed them to feel what they did to me every second I walked through that door. As we rolled through the old neighborhood, I saw my past in broken window panes and cracked sidewalks. The same liquor store I used to beg outside of. The shelter that turned me away on a freezing night because they were full. Everything had changed. Except them. That was the difference. I hadn't just survived. I had evolved. I wasn't coming back as their son. I was coming back as their reckoning. The reunion was at some rented banquet hall. One of those places with fake marble floors and sad lighting. Lots of chatter. Cheap wine. Clinking glasses. I walked in slowly. Every head turned. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. There was a pause just long enough to feel like a held breath. Then gasps. Murmurs. Is that Michael? That can't be him. Whoa, he looks different. Unrecognizable. I locked eyes with my mother first. She was standing near the buffet table, wearing a purple dress and holding a glass of white wine. Her hair was grayer, her face more wrinkled, but the scowl was the same. She blinked twice, unsure whether to smile, or hide. "Michael," she said, voice uncertain. I nodded. "Mom." Then came the parade of relatives. People who hadn't spoken my name in a decade. Hugging me, asking about how I did it. Calling me inspiring. Fake smiles. Forced warmth. Every one of them had deleted me from their lives, and now they wanted back in. I let them talk, but I was waiting for one person. Jason, the golden boy, varsity athlete, full scholarship, Daddy's favorite. When I got kicked out, he barely said a word, just shrugged and looked away. Now he approached me, hand extended like we were long-lost friends. "Damn, Mike, you clean up good, man. I saw your company on TV last year. Impressive stuff. We should grab lunch sometime. I've got this idea I think you'd be interested in." There it was. The ask. Not a sorry. Not an "I was wrong." Just a pitch. Like I was some ATM he hadn't used yet. I stood up, tapped my glass, and cleared my throat. The room went silent. I wasn't going to speak today. I didn't come for that. But I think maybe I should. Eyes on me. My mother looked tense. Jason looked curious. A few cousins whispered nervously. A decade ago, I was thrown out. I was called worthless, a disappointment, a failure. I begged for help. Not money, just compassion. I got silence instead. And I've carried that silence with me every single day since. You could hear a pin drop. But I'm not angry anymore. I don't hate any of you. In fact, I thank you. Because your rejection forged me. Your cruelty shaped me. And now, I'm not just successful. I'm free. I came here today to show you that you were wrong. To show you what I became without you. And to say this, I looked at Jason, then my mom, then the room. I don't need you anymore. You left me because I was poor. Now I'm richer than all of you combined. But the real wealth? That's knowing I never needed your approval to be great. I finished my drink, set the glass down, and walked out. As the Rolls pulled away from the reunion, the silence inside the car wasn't empty. It was earned. I didn't speak. Neither did my driver. The only sound was the soft hum of the engine and the rain starting to tap against the windows. Outside, the world blurred, like memories dissolving in the rearview mirror. Inside, I exhaled. Not from relief, from release. I had carried that weight for so long, the anger, the shame, the need to prove something to people who never gave a damn. And now it was off my shoulders. The text started the next morning. "Michael, your speech yesterday. It really made us think. Can we talk? I had no idea you felt that way. Let's catch up sometime. I miss you." Even my mother, the woman who had thrown me out like garbage, sent a message. I didn't know how to be a good mom back then. I made mistakes, but people change. Maybe you could come over for dinner sometime. I stared at her words for a long time, and for a second, I felt something. Not forgiveness. Guilt. What if I was wrong to cut them off? What if they had changed? But then I remembered. It was 5 degrees outside the night I almost froze to death. I had been kicked out of the gym where I usually slept. No room at the shelter. Nowhere else to go. I knocked on my mom's door. My fingers were stiff. My lips blue. I begged. "Just one night. I'll sleep on the floor. Please." She didn't even open the door. Just said through the crack in the window, "We can't help you anymore, Michael. You need to figure your life out." Then the porch light shut off. Now she wanted to talk? Now she wanted to play the mother card? People don't change overnight. They change when it benefits them. And right now, my success benefited them. They saw me on Forbes. They saw my name in entrepreneur panels. They heard about the scholarships I was funding and the community centers I was building. I wasn't a son to them. I was an asset. and I'd be damned if I let them exploit me again. I threw myself into my work. Not just the business, the mission. I used my story to create change. I started a nonprofit for at-risk youth, funded job training programs for the homeless, sponsored addiction recovery housing. People started calling me the comeback king. Journalists wrote headlines like, "From Disowned to Donor, How Michael Jensen is Rebuilding the World That Left Him Behind." I smiled for the cameras, shook hands with CEOs, donated six-figure checks. But behind closed doors, I still had dreams where I was 17. Still woke up some nights to the phantom sound of that door slamming shut behind me. 2 years after the reunion, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was my mother. "Michael, it's me. I don't know if you'll even listen to this, but I wanted to tell you something. I've been diagnosed. It's stage 4. They say I don't have long." She paused, took a breath. "I'm sorry for everything. Truly. I didn't know how to love you back then. I was scared. I was proud. I see what you've become, and I know I don't deserve to be proud of you, but I am. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. If not, I understand." Click. I sat in my office for a long time after that. No music, no calls, just silence. I stood outside the hospice center 2 days later. I looked up at the pale gray building. Cold, sterile, a place where regrets go to die. My hand hovered over the door, and then I stepped back. I didn't go in. I had already buried the version of her I needed, the one who could have saved me when I needed saving, the one who slammed the door, and I wasn't going to dig up the past for closure she didn't earn. I whispered under my breath, "Goodbye, Mom," and I left. People think revenge is loud, explosive, a grand display, but the real revenge, it's living well without them. It's knowing they lost their chance to be part of your story. It's refusing to let their apology buy access to your peace. I didn't succeed to prove them wrong anymore. I succeeded to prove myself right. And that's the greatest justice of all. It was a Saturday, warm, clear skies, early fall. I stood at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Jensen Youth Empowerment Center. The mayor gave a speech. Cameras flashed. Kids in oversized t-shirts clapped like it was Christmas morning. This was my 5th center. State-of-the-art classrooms, a recording studio, a full library, tutoring, mentoring programs, and even hot meals every day. I looked out at the crowd. No blood relatives. But I wasn't alone. Standing by my side was Marcus, the kid I met at a shelter 2 years back. I found him stealing energy bars from a gas station. He's 16 now, top of his class, straight as, dreams of starting his own business. He calls me Uncle Mike, and when he hugged me that day, I cried, not because I was sad, but because, for the first time, I knew what it felt like to matter. There was Carlos, my CFO, who gave up a cushy job at a Fortune 500 company to help me grow Drive Savvy because he believed in me, not just the numbers. There was Tasha, my assistant, who doubled as my therapist, personal chef, and emergency contact. She called me her favorite chaos machine. There was June, my fiancée, a school counselor who never asked about my net worth, only my dreams. She made me dinner the first night we met, and I swear, I nearly proposed over pasta. And of course, the hundreds of young people who came through my mentorship programs. Some of them still call, some don't, but they all remind me, you don't have to share blood to be a family. You just need someone who sees your worth even when you don't. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. I was walking into one of the youth centers when Marcus ran up to me, waving a paper. "Uncle Mike." I got in. Full ride. He tackled me in a hug, grinning ear to ear. I looked down at the acceptance letter in his hand, then up at the kid who, not long ago, thought he'd never finish high school. That moment, That was the moment I realized I had become the man I needed when I was a boy. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and wonder, what would 17-year-old me say if he saw this? Would he believe the suits? The skyline apartment? The millions in the bank? No. But he'd recognize one thing: the fire in my eyes, the refusal to be broken, the hunger to build something real. And I think he'd be proud. Not because I made it big, but because I made it right. The truth is, revenge was never really about them. It wasn't about making my mom cry or my brother jealous. That was just noise. What I really wanted: to feel like I mattered, to be seen, to be loved, not for what I could offer, but for who I was. And now, I have that. I built a life full of choice. Friends who became siblings, colleagues who became partners, kids who became sons. They didn't inherit me. They earned me, just like I earned this peace. Sometimes, the people who should love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. But that's not where your story has to end. You get to choose your ending. You get to choose your family. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right. If this story gave you chills, if it reminded you that you're worth more than anyone's rejection, hit that like button. Subscribe for more true stories of revenge, resilience, and redemption. And tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying comeback you've ever seen? Because out here, we're not just surviving the past. We're building the future.